everybody, my name is Blessed Egu, and today we are continuing with the A to Z Nuggets of Life with Auntie Madupe. Today's alphabet is Q, and the word is question. Stay tuned and enjoy. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Blessed Egu, for that introduction. God bless you. And with us today is
Femi Shonuga.
Femi Shonuga, African child. So, how are you?
I'm good, Auntie. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. So, today we're looking at letter Q, and the word is question. Questions. Now, what is a question? A question is simply a sentence that extracts an information. And whether we like it or not, sometimes unknowingly we ask questions. Just like you did just now. You said, "How are you, Auntie Motupe?" So that's a question, and I gave you the response. Whether we like it or not, we ask questions unknowingly. I'm sure you must have asked about 10 questions today. Think about it. How many questions do you think you've asked today? You would have asked your mom questions or your siblings at home when you were at church. We ask questions a lot. And I believe that people are very ignorant until when they ask a question. So questions are good to be asked, because when you ask a question, you get informed and you no longer remain ignorant. And do you know what? Even God Almighty, He asks questions. God is the first person to ask a question in the Bible. In the book of Genesis chapter 3 and verse 9. Genesis chapter 3 verse 9. God asked Adam and Eve, He said, "Where art thou?" So even God asks questions. And even Jesus Christ, a time He said in the book of Matthew, He said, "Who do men say I am?" So questions are good. Now, do you like asking questions, or would you rather answer questions?
I like asking questions.
You like asking questions?
Yeah.
Okay. And how do you feel when your questions are answered? You feel informed, you feel good?
Yeah.
Okay. And there's so many questions, open-ended questions, specific questions, rhetorical questions, general questions, the different types of questions. I'm going to mention them and just pick on 3. Now, we have what, we have who, we have why, we have where, when, which, whose, and whom. But the ones I'm going to focus on this day are why, what, and who. So my first question to you, Femi, is why do you have this type of hairstyle? It's a very unusual hairstyle for a man to have. I don't have anything against it. I actually like it. But I just want to know why you have this type of hairstyle.
Well, I wanted to try it during this lockdown, see if I would like it or not.
Okay.
I'm liking it so far, so
You're liking it?
Maybe I'll try it again in the future.
So it's your lockdown hairstyle.
Yeah.
And who made it for you? Did you have to pay? Because I know it's lockdown, so did you get a hairdresser to come to your house? Or?
No, actually my cousin Safi did it for free.
Oh, Safi did it for free. She must make my hair as well. Really? She made how old is it? 2 weeks,
like
1 week?
Around like 1 week.
1 week old. Okay. And did it hurt you?
Yeah, it did. Yeah.
Was it your first time of making a hairstyle like this?
It was my second time.
Okay. And you did it because, lockdown, the barbers are closed. You can't go to the barbers, and it's very hard having to comb your hair every morning, so you decided to get it cornrowed. Okay. And who likes it? Has anybody told you that they like it?
Yeah, a lot of people told me they like it.
Who exactly?
Friends, like people.
Friends, girlfriends, boyfriends.
Just friends.
Just friends.
Yeah.
Okay, let's keep it like that. Okay. So, how do you feel if you ask someone a question, and instead of them giving you a direct answer, they now respond to your question with a question? Say you're driving and you're stopped, and you say to them, "Why have you stopped me?" And they say back to you, "Why shouldn't we stop you?" How do you respond? How do you take when people respond to your question with a question?
At first, I'll feel like confused because that's not what I really wanted to hear. It's like I expect like a proper answer instead of like another question. It's my question.
Okay. So, but do you know that most people, especially Nigerians, we always answer questions with questions? I don't know why. Have you experienced it at home?
Yeah.
Give me an example where your mom answered your question with a question.
One time I asked my mom, why do I have to do the dishes? She said, why should it?
That's typical. Why shouldn't you? But really, why did you ask her that question? You do the dishes, don't you?
Yes.
Okay, so you want to share the dishes with her. So who ate the food that the dishes were in the sink for?
I did.
So you ate the food, you used the dishes, and your mom did as well, maybe the whole family. And so she said to you, why shouldn't you do the dishes? Who bought the food?
She did.
Okay, who cooks the food?
She did.
And you do the dishes.
Yes.
What would you rather do? Would you rather cook and she does the dishes?
I'd rather just not do the dishes like all the time, as
Okay.
like, my brother could do the dishes as well.
Okay, then get him to do it. He's old enough to do the dishes. So what does he do, by the way?
He just cleans the sink.
Just cleans the sink.
Yeah.
He eats the food, you do the dishes, and just comes and cleans the sink.
Yeah.
He can do more. I know him. He's able. He can do more. Any questions for me? Today is about questions, questions, questions. Why don't young people like asking questions? Even God has invited us to ask him questions. In Matthew chapter 7 verse 7, God said, ask and you shall receive. Seek and you shall find. Knock and the door shall be open. So even God wants us to ask him questions. So why don't young people ask questions in this day and age? Why do they keep things to themselves and jump to wrong conclusions? Why?
Well, I
Not
feel,
all young people, point of correction, but some young people. Yes.
I feel like we find it difficult to ask certain questions. Like, we think it's better just to leave it alone the way it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
So why do you find it difficult to ask certain questions? So you're saying that there are some questions you're happy to ask, and there are some you just leave it alone because you want lying dogs to, you want to leave lying dogs alone. But really, what are the benefits of asking questions?
You get better information.
You get better information when you ask, especially when you ask a specific question. You get a specific answer, and you get informed, and you know what to do. When you ask questions, you don't make mistakes. When you ask questions, you know what to respond to. When you ask questions, you don't waste time. When you ask questions, your mind is settled. So it's good to ask questions. Now ask me one question, at least, before we close.
How have you been finding this lockdown?
Good question. That's a good question I need to ask you as well. How have I been finding this lockdown? Initially, when it was announced on the 21st of March, I was excited. I thought, oh, this is a big holiday and everything will be over by Easter. Then later I found out that it was not going to end in Easter, and it was continuing. Then I started to get bored. I was missing work, I was missing church, I was missing my friends, I was missing not going to the hairdressers, not going to my shop because I like shopping. I like, it's therapy for me. Even if I don't buy anything, just looking at the new designs and the smell, I like it. So it became very boring. But then later I decided to say, you know what, let me make the best out of the situation I found myself in. So I came up with this A to Z Nuggets of Life, which we're doing. And thank you for being a part of it. Then I've just gone back to some other things I put on hold because of my busyness. But really, I'm enjoying it. I've learned some new skills, and I've learned some new things about myself, about my husband, about my children, and I'm just making the best out of it. So it's really a wonderful time for me. So what about you? How have you been coping during this lockdown?
I've just been relaxing,
Relaxing.
trying to help out in the house as well
That's good.
at work. So, just doing me, just relax, not doing much to be honest. As long as I do the work,
Okay.
then I can relax.
Okay, that's good. I'm going to ask you a question, and I just want you to advise me. There's this story about a lady, this young girl. She would always want to go for school trips, and her dad would always say to her, I don't have money, I don't have money. So one day she said to him, what do you spend your money on, Dad? Can I have a look at your bank statement? So the what question, what do you spend your money on? Can I have a look at your bank statement? And he showed it to her. So what do you think about that question? Is it rude? Was it too intrusive? Should she have asked that question, and should her dad have shown her his bank statements? What do you think, Femi?
I do think it's rude because you may be paying for things that you don't know about,
Okay.
like stuff for the future. Like you could be paying for your university fees soon,
Yes.
and like paying for the house.
Okay.
Yeah, and help finance and you.
So it's a good question, and it's a good thing that the dad showed it to her. Okay, fine. I agree with you. Do you have any question for me?
Going back on the example story you gave me,
Yes.
would you let your children see your bank statement?
Of course. Again, it depends on what I'm doing. It depends on what I'm in the middle of. And again, questions should be asked at the right time. You should assess the situation and know when to ask and when not to ask. For instance, you dare not ask somebody who is a football fan and maybe they're supporting Arsenal and Arsenal is losing, and that's when you ask them a question. They're not going to respond. So you need to find out the right time to ask a question. So if I'm in the middle of something very important, I'm not going to respond. I will say, be quiet, let's talk later. But if I'm in a good mood, I'm relaxed, I'll say, why not go upstairs, go to my pink box by the wardrobe and bring it out and see it. So I don't have a problem in showing any of my children my bank statement, because it will also help them to reduce their demands when they know how much I earn and what I spend my money on. So it's good for me and it's good for them. Any other question?
No.
Okay. So action points. Remember that when a question is asked, it's to bring information. A question is simply a sentence that extracts information. So please do not assume. Don't assume things. Don't jump to wrong conclusions. Ask direct questions, get the response, and make decisions. Questions are good, and no question is too difficult to ask. It just depends on the timing. The timing may be wrong, so please wait for the right timing. So I pray that as we continue in life, we'll know how to ask questions. And I'm going to end with a story. There's a lady, this guy and this lady, they were, friends. And this boy was just, she's actually my friend. She was my friend. And every day after the service, he would wait behind to see her off. So when he graduated, my friend went there and we followed her, myself and another friend. So we followed this friend of ours to his graduation ceremony. And when we got there was this other girl dancing around him. And it was obvious that this girl was his girlfriend. So we looked at each other and my friend was in tears. So later the guy said, why are you in tears? You're just a very good friend of mine, a friend I confide in, a friend I tell things to, but she's my girlfriend. You never asked me if I had a girlfriend. How have I offended you? So we came to the conclusion that day that really and truly, you should have asked this gentleman why he was paying you extra attention. After service, he'll follow her home, see her off, in the morning, just be nice to her. And she just assumed that they were in a relationship. So it's good to ask questions. The guy is giving you the latest iPhone. The girl is bringing food to you. She's put you up as your photograph as a DP. You need to find out from her what's happening here. Ask her nicely. Don't assume, because when you assume, you're likely to make the wrong assumptions and get yourself hurt. So questions are good. Any other question? No question. No question from me as well. Thank you. I'm going to hand over to Blessing Ekwe as she closes us up. Thank you and God bless.
Thank you, Auntie Modupe. That is it for today. And tomorrow we have alphabet R. Thank you for listening. Bye.